How can we make this end? How? How can we make this end? The government continues to impose restrictions upon its people, the most ridiculous, freedom-snatching restrictions ever imposed in Britain, certainly in peacetime. Some people are arguing that maybe in the Blitz similar restrictions were imposed, but I don't think that's actually true. People were allowed to leave their homes, people were allowed to have jobs, go to work. But not anymore. Not now. The government says no. Doesn't matter if you're afraid of the virus, doesn't matter if the science even indicates the virus is dangerous. Doesn't matter. We'll just draw a graph. We'll just have a graph that says whatever we want, and we will use that to justify locking people in their homes. And what are you going to do about it? Free speech censored. Doctors speaking up against the lockdown, against the COVID, censored. Google search queries downranked. Anything with positive news about COVID is being downranked on by all big tech engines. Calling people to mobilise against the government, to form organising COVID protests, is now illegal and incurs a heavy fine of up to £10,000. I'm sure that will increase. People like Piers Corbyn have already received 20,000, maybe more, pounds in fines for simply trying to speak out against this madness. And what's going to come next? We've just heard that Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, is contemplating, which means it's already been decided, to make it illegal to gather in protests in groups of more than 2 people. 2. It's not a protest, is it? And I'm pretty sure this is as a response to the massive anti-lockdown protests and other protests that have taken place. But where does this lead? When people are not allowed to meet each other, they're not allowed to visit other households, they're not allowed to share information online, they're not allowed to gather, and they're not allowed to protest. What do we do when this has gone too far? And in my opinion, it has already gone too far. But maybe you don't think that. A lot of people don't. A lot of people love it. A lot of people are like, please, more lockdowns. Definitely more lockdowns. Don't worry about those job losses or the frigging entire industries being completely destroyed. But yes, more lockdowns, good, control the virus. But what happens when in December we come out of this lockdown and there's still restrictions everywhere? There's still going to be local restrictions everywhere. And then in January, when they lock us down again, what's going to happen? Will it have gone too far then? In February, when we're still locked down? In March or June or July, when we're still locked down, when we're still restricted, when we're still being forced to wear face masks? Will it have gone too far then? When unemployment reaches 2 million, 3 million, 5 million? Will it have gone too far then? And maybe at that point, you will decide, actually, I'd like to join in a protest. I'd like to oppose this ridiculous authoritarian regime. And you won't be able to, because it'll be illegal. And you won't be able to have friends round to discuss. You won't be able to, it'll be criminalised. And there'll be no way to fight back. And this is a problem, because this is the beginning of a societal change an authoritarian change where our freedoms will be removed without consent, and there's nothing we can do about it because we're only one person. We're not allowed to mobilize. People think that it can't happen. The idea that we would end up in some sort of totalitarian state, whether it be 1984, whether it be a communist state, whether it be a police state. People think that can't happen here, can't happen in Britain. We have this long tradition of freedom and liberty. So did a lot of other places. How long did it take for Germany to become an authoritarian fascist regime? And just to clarify, socialist. Nazi National Socialist Party. It is a left-wing socialist movement, not a right-wing personal freedom movement. Clear that one up. What, 1930 through to 1939 was the development of this regime. It started with certain elements of the population being kindly asked to behave in certain ways, to wear certain items of clothing, armbands, stars, etc., to be restricted to certain locations, Jewish quarters, ghettos, and everyone just went along with it. And then a short amount of time later, and not a short number of years, and we've got people being taken off in trains. We've got a now supreme leader elected in Adolf Hitler. Emergency powers voted in, just like has happened in Britain with the COVID Act. Russia, the USSR, how long did that take? I don't know the exact dates, but it was a year or two for, a revolution movement to turn into a communist state. Not long. China, Vietnam, the same. These things go from please wear a mask to isolation camps, detention camps, death, poverty, inability to leave your homes, inability to criticize the government, lack of democracy. These things can change very, very rapidly. And nobody knows until it's over, until it's done, until one day they're not allowed to go outside. Till one day the police knocks on your door and says, "Are you vaccinated? Do you have a vaccination certificate?" And then they take you away. They take you away to a vaccination centre, to an isolation centre. And if you think that this is not likely to happen, then just look around. We are living already in a police state. Sorry, protest, gathering, organisation of resistance movements is prohibited. People are not allowed to shop in Wales. You can't buy baby clothes. People are being imprisoned in their homes. There are police checkpoints and blockades. Yeah, we already live in it, and it's only going to get worse. So here's what's going to happen. The lockdown is going to continue to December the 2nd or 3rd. It may be extended. I suspect that they will let us out for Christmas, albeit restricted. You'll have a restricted Christmas. where maybe they'll graciously allow us to gather with our family in groups of 5 or less. And then they'll lock us down again. They'll claim that the virus has mutated. It's COVID-21 now. It's much more deadly. Another lockdown, January, February, another lockdown. And people, because this virus is so much more dangerous, people who resist will be taken away. They'll be forcibly isolated. It won't be asking anymore, it'll be telling. People will be forced to wear a mask. It will become illegal not to wear a mask. There will be no exemptions. Mark my words. This is what's going to happen. And it's all a way of ushering in some sort of global quasi-communist government. And they'll come and they'll take away your house and they'll take away your stuff and they'll do all of that. And people will cheer for it. They already are. They love it.